So today we're going to start talking about the Pythagorean theorem. And Pythagorean theorem is named after this guy named Pythagoras. And Pythagoras was a Greek mathematician. The Pythagorean theorem is for finding the missing sides of right triangles. It's huge that we know that the Pythagorean theorem only works on right triangles. So when we talk about right triangles, we talk about them with two labels. We talk about the legs of the triangle. The legs are the two sides that form the right angle. And we talk about our hypotenuse. And our hypotenuse is always directly across from our right angle. Our picture right below that just kind of gives a little example about what the Pythagorean theorem actually looks like. And the Pythagorean theorem tells me 3 squared. So if I'm looking at 3 squared, I get 9 squares total. Plus 4 squared. 4 squared gives me 16 boxes total. And if I look at that big square, and if I color 16 boxes blue, because 4 squared gave me 16, I have exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 boxes left. And we had our 9 green boxes. So I know that 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared, which is 25 boxes total. And that's what our theorem tells us. But instead of our theorem saying just 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared, it just gives us an overall rule. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And here's what those letters represent. A and B are your legs. Those two short sides of your triangle. And C is the hypotenuse. And C is always the longest side of that triangle. So let's look at an example and then let's jump straight into today's practice problems. So example 1, it says that I have a right isosceles triangle. Isosceles just means that two sides are the same. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to give myself a little room, and I'm going to draw a right triangle. It says that the legs are 6 meters long. Our legs are two short sides, so this side is going to be 6, this side is going to be 6. And it wants us to find the length of the hypotenuse. And we said always that the hypotenuse is across from that right angle. And so on every problem that we work on, we're going to draw a picture and we're going to draw an arrow to the hypotenuse. And we just said that our hypotenuse is our C, and A and B are legs. And it doesn't matter which one I call A and which one I call B, as long as I know C is that long side. So I'm going to call this A and call this B. So let's start working it out. The Pythagorean theorem says that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I'm always going to start out writing the blank formula. Now we're going to plug in. Instead of saying A squared, I'm going to say 6 squared because the A side was 6 meters long. Instead of saying B squared, I'm going to say 6 squared because the B side was 6 meters long. I don't know what C is, so I'm going to leave it C squared. And I can type this in my calculator. 6 squared is 36. plus 36 equals c squared. 36 plus 36 equals 72. So 72 is equal to c squared. This right here is not our answer, because my picture says that I'm looking for c. And right now, I have c squared. So the way that we undo c squared is to take the square root. And before we solve that, I want to make ourselves a little note that the last step every time, for every single Pythagorean theorem question, forever and always, is to take the square root. So our answer is the square root of 72, which if I type that in my calculator, it's going to give me an ugly decimal, but we're going to round it off to 8.5. So what we're going to do now is we're going to close this video, and attached to today's lesson on my webpage are some task cards. And questions number 1 through question 10 are questions just like this. It gives you A and B, and it asks you to find C. As you're working out these problems, I want to see your work just like this. I want to see the blank formula. I want to see you plugging in your answers. I want to see you simplifying the math. I want to see you adding. And then I want to see your square root. And we're just going to round our answers to 1 decimal place. So let's go ahead, let's end this video, and let's get busy on today's practice problems.